Welcome. I'm Michael Bickert. Thanks for joining me today as we explore concepts with the objective of improving your management skills and growing your business. If you're new to the channel, then you may have shown up without a notepad or a pen, so pause the video now and grab that because we commit in each of these videos to jotting down something that is actionable that you can implement in your business today. So make that commitment and implement something that will move your business forward today. Welcome back. If you're not new, that means you have your pen already and your paper, and let's get started. Today, I wanted to talk about the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. What is it that differentiates and separates those people who are so much more successful from the rest? And I'm here to tell you that there is no grandiose, well-guarded secret. There is no magic pill. In fact, one of the reasons that success eludes people is the very nature of what causes success. The fact that there is nothing revolutionary or mysterious, that it's lackluster. People seem to be looking for something that will give them an edge, something that's easy, frankly. And success is born of a formula of implementing ordinary things, but doing it with great discipline, habitually, day in and day out. These things can be highly intuitive, logically sound, and often well-known constituents of success. And that is what you need to stick to when you're thinking about the things that are going to drive success in your business. Don't be out there looking for that silver bullet, the one thing that will separate you from everyone else. In fact, I would argue that it is people's nature to look for shortcuts that makes them more vulnerable and susceptible to these get-rich-quick schemes that are so often out there. And that's what makes the whole concept of a get-rich-quick scheme attractive. We'd like to get rich quick. They say everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die first. You have to put in the work. And that is what successful people do. And some people will have already tuned out of this video because, in fact, they were hoping to find that silver bullet, that magic pill. And the good news is it doesn't exist. There isn't really anything that these people who are very successful have that is that different from you. And if you have a hard time accepting that, then perhaps you haven't spent enough time around very successful people. When you do spend time with these people, you'll find that in most ways they're ordinary. And the bulk of what they do day to day is ordinary. It's stuff, like I said, that can be very intuitive. It can be things that are well known to you. In fact, much of what I talk about in these videos, I gather that people would say, yeah, I actually know that. The question is, are you implementing it? Do you have the discipline to day in and day out implement what you know that will lead to success? Success can be very predictable. Success requires discipline, hard work, and time. And a lot of people just prefer a quick fix, even if it meant they had to invest or risk a great deal. But therein lay the secret, if there is a secret. The only secret is there is no secret. I like to say that. Have that in your mind. There is no secret. That's the secret. People constantly looking for the secret to success are kidding themselves. They're missing the very point. Because of the experience you have, you already know what works and what doesn't work in your business. So don't waste any more time in pursuit of something, a fool's errand, something that doesn't exist, a wild goose chase, trying to find some real secret, highly elusive practice that will separate you from all the competition. Instead, you already have best practices. Let's make sure that we're implementing those best practices. And best practices are born of experience. They're born of trial and error, iteration, failure. These things you've you've implemented because you've tried and over and refined, perpetual refinement. You've made adjustments and you've decided, hey, this is working better. And these things are driven by measurement and solid data. So you look at things and you respond accordingly. So all of a sudden sales increase and your customers are giving you positive feedback due to things and iterations, innovations that you're making in your business. Those are the secrets to success. So what led to those things were hard work, or was hard work. Therefore, continue to work hard, continue to be disciplined and measuring things and collecting data and analyzing data. These things aren't sexy. They're not, exciting necessarily, but they do drive innovation. They do drive value up, and they will increase your sales and they will increase your success if you exercise these things habitually with great discipline. Observe the most successful people, and you'll discover that ostensibly what they do lacks originality. The bulk of what they do is pretty boring, maybe. It's just the the mundane day in and day out. That's the bulk of what they do. But what they also do is they avoid shortcuts. They stick to the tried and true. They take those innovations, those refinements that they've made, that they've discovered, that the competition thinks is not necessary because it's such a little thing that it's not going to make a big difference. But 100 small things will make a far bigger difference than one massive thing. And the reason is you're not going to find one massive thing. There aren't any real big, monumental changes that you need to make. Instead, you need to find tiny little things day in and day out that make a difference and implement them. And when you interview these successful people, often people are disappointed by finding out that there is no, as I say, magic pill that you can take, that there's not just one secret recipe, that it's implementation of things day in and day out. And again, it takes discipline and hard work. And I think that at once, it is both the good news and the bad news. The good news is that anyone, it's available to anyone. You don't have to risk anything. You don't have to invest a great deal. That is to say, you don't have to risk a great deal financially, or you don't have to invest a great deal financially. And that's also good news, because if these things that could really separate the successful came down to big risk investment items, then they would be the exclusive domain of the wealthy. The already successful would have cornered the market on those things. So if it took a particular piece of equipment or having to hire the very best person in the world at something to make your business stand out, then it would be inaccessible to the average entrepreneur. Instead, the already successful people, the giant companies, the incumbent big players, would gobble up all those things and they would continue to grow market share. Now, I do understand it can be an edge to hire, very skilled people, but we've also seen that the drive and motivation of the common individual can be far more powerful. We've all heard of sports teams that were kind of dream teams that were assembled by very wealthy professional sports team owners who put together this unbelievable dream team, and then they didn't go on to win the championship. In fact, they may have done poorly in the playoffs. They didn't operate synergistically, or whatever the case might be. Instead, we've seen also examples of workhorse teams, people who individually maybe lack the talent of the superstars, but they gelled as a team and they really performed well. So don't kid yourself into believing or become discouraged by the notion that only the big players can afford the constituents to success, the most expensive equipment, the most expensive people and everything. Of course, that's not true. All of these companies started as small companies at one time as well. The great news I'm sharing with you is that success is available to anyone willing to pay the price, willing to invest the time and energy and discipline day in and day out. Success doesn't depend on key ingredients or resources that require huge capital investment and are so scarce that they are only available to those who are willing to take huge risks or invest a lot of money. You also needn't rely on super rare conditions in combination with utter chance or dumb luck. That's not the way that people get successful. I mean, some people are lucky. I mean, wouldn't it be depressing if success was left to utter chance? It's nice to catch a break once in a while. And what is the expression? The harder I work, the luckier I get. You certainly don't want to rely on luck. You might as well play the lottery if you're going to do that. And that's not where entrepreneurs, that's not what we're made of. Instead, we understand there is no secret. That's the secret. The consistent application of small yet meaningful measures that predictably affect positive change. That's where all your effort needs to be directed. Your focus needs to be on those things. And those things we call best practices. So discover those. Maybe that's a good homework assignment today, is to look for those things that you've experienced in the past that do affect positive change, that do get, as we said before, the positive customer reaction. Your team, your other stakeholders seem to know these things. They may be, as I said, intuitive. They can be. If something is counterintuitive, that is a best practice. That's probably a symptom of you need to check your premises. You might have a improper paradigm, because these things are likely to be more intuitive. You just know that it adds value in the various ways that we've discussed before. And so apply those things time and again. And so today, look and sort of brainstorm. Sit down with somebody else, another major stakeholder in your business. And if you can't find the time to do that, then implement it yourself. Brainstorm on your own and ask yourself, what things have you applied in the past to your business? And they did affect a positive change. They did make a difference. And yet, for whatever reason, you got away from them. Maybe you didn't yet form a habit, or you've forgotten about them, or there was something that came up that condition no longer exists, and there's no reason not to implement those things again today. And then try to make that part of your recipe. You know, those successful people, we're talking about their discipline and their habits, but what they do, it's about the process. The analogy I always use is like baking. They talk about cooking being an art and baking being science. So in baking, you can take a good recipe if you have the proper ingredients and then the right steps. That's what a recipe is. It has both a list of ingredients and the proportions of those ingredients, the measures of those ingredients, and then how to combine them, the steps to put them together, and then how to bake them at what particular temperature and for how long. Take your recipe for success and continually refine that. Maybe you tweak an ingredient here and there, the proportion, and you measure the outcome, and do you accomplish the objective more predictably? That's what successful people are doing. They're measuring and they're refining that recipe, and they may be changing the key ingredients from time to time, but it all comes down to measuring and refining, and then applying very consistently a recipe that can give you predictable results. And your customers want that. They want to come in and have a consistent result from your product or service, and exchange money, exchange some medium for good value. That's where success comes from. So stop falling for clickbait and looking for anything that is sort of grandiose and mysterious and, oh, that's what it is. Even someone as successful as, Elon Musk, or in the past, maybe Benjamin Franklin, these people are clearly intelligent, but they still are ordinary people, and they've just discovered a method. And with Elon Musk, they say it's first principles thinking. It's just the way his brain works, as he looks at what do we know for sure, and he just doesn't accept that something's impossible. So maybe you would say, well, that's a secret, is to have a lack of limiting beliefs, I think is what Tony Robbins would call them, and let your mind go. But that's accessible to anyone. So if that's what you need to do, and you need to explore what your limiting beliefs are and let go of some of those things, and give yourself, think bigger picture, then so be it. But really, it will come down to forming discipline and putting processes in place that everyone in your organization can follow time and again. That's where your success is going to come from. So that's where I'd like to leave it today. I've given you maybe a little bit of homework, a little food for thought. And I'm interested to hear what you think about this. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Let's learn from one another. Perpetual refinement.